Here comes a new challenger!
Hello everyone, and welcome to SSB World. We're going to be looking at character usage in tournaments and going to be basically analyzing why characters are where they are. Now, I don't know if this is 100% accurate information, and this is only applying to offline tournaments, not online. So just to get this out of the way, character like Minmin, Steve, Byleth, Terry, you know, they barely have anything because, well, they just came out. You know, Terry was like already a year ago at this point, but like, you know, they're more recent additions, and by the time the, you know, the funny thing happened, we didn't really have them much in tournament, and so we're not really going to be talking about those characters too much, but I'll bring them up for later on in this video. So with that all being said, this is obviously, you know, just character usage in tournaments. Again, probably not 100% accurate from what I recall, but it gives you a good idea of who are the more popular characters and who are the characters that are winning and all this sort of stuff. Now, just because a character is used more than others doesn't necessarily mean the character is a top tier or whatever. It's just that in Ultimate, because a lot of characters are good, you'll typically have people that will just pick whoever they feel they'll win with. This is why you'll see, as an example, why, even though I don't think so, Fox is here, obviously, because Light plays Fox that does really well with him, whereas I think Mario's a better character, but obviously you don't really, up until, you know, recently, with Mario players who've been doing well, you know, they didn't do as well as Light did for so many tournaments, which is why Mario is like lower, as an example. Or the same thing with like a character, like let's use another example like Peach. Again, I think Peach is better than a lot of the characters on here, but that doesn't necessarily mean that, you know, that because these characters are, in my opinion, some of these characters in my opinion are worse. That's the reason why they're used more is, again, because of popularity, whatever the case may be. So we're gonna start at the bottom. All right, starting with Ryu. So with Ryu, kind of makes sense to me. A lot of Ryu's hype, and this is an issue with a lot of Ultimate characters nowadays, is that Ryu suffered from two main things: one, hype, and two, launch status. So at launch, he was a pretty bad character, all things considered. There were not a lot of redeeming qualities towards Ryu. You know, sure, he had the better Shoryuken, because with Ken you could fall out of it even easier, but his projectile was kind of weaker, and he was not really that great at pressure compared to Ken. So at launch he kind of suffered a lot. And speaking of Ken, he also had the issue of hype. Ken, for a lot of people, is just more exciting than Ryu, because Ken has that aggressive combo nature that Ryu had on Smash 4, whereas this Ryu kept his projectile game, you know, his neutral. Now, in my opinion, do I think this number will ever rise? Depends. We have a lot more people playing Ryu than Ken nowadays, from what I've seen. I mean, they'll alternate between the two, but I'll see people play Ryu a bit more often. There is, I forget his name, but there's a Japanese player who solely plays Ken, and, you know, so I think they've switched to Ryu on occasion, but typically you'll see one or the other often. But especially for early on in the game's lifetime, you know, you won't see a lot of him because he sucked in the beginning, and that's an issue for a lot of characters, as I'll bring up with other characters as we'll go along. But let's move on here to these two. Now, these two share a similar issue, is that, you know, only recently now people have noticed that Mii Brawler is actually really good. Like, Mii Brawler, in my opinion, I wouldn't say he's top tier, but I will say that, like, whatever your opinion is on Fox, he's better than Fox, in my opinion. So wherever you have Fox personally, I would say Mii Brawler is even better than Fox. But that's just my opinion, of course. Now, when it comes to Mii Brawler and Mii Gunner, both share a very similar issue. They're Miis, and not a lot of people play Miis because they'll go like, oh, it's a Mii, why would you want to play a Mii compared to other iconic characters? But as I've said before, you've probably seen more of Miis than you have of any other character in this roster. I'm saying they are more iconic than most characters on this roster, and that's a fact. That's not even an opinion, that's a fact. All right, so I don't get the Mii hate. It's probably because of Smash 4 due to the Mii's, you know, customs, especially Mii Brawler. He was a very scary character. I would argue the best character with customs because, you know, small Mii Brawler with customs killed you at 0 consistently at any stage at any point you ever wanted to, and he was just so hard to catch. He was basically, imagine like a faster, you know, better movement Pichu with even deadlier hitboxes. It was insane. So the Mii's definitely got a lot of hate for that, but it is what it is. Now with the pits, Dark Pit seems to be here. I don't know if Pit, yeah, Pit is here, but we'll just cover them both right now. When it comes to the pits, they weren't very popular characters for a lot of the same issues that Ryu does. And so for now on, I'll just say the character suffered from launch syndrome. Now what launch syndrome means is that if your character sucked in the beginning and they got buffed to the point where they're good now, well, it doesn't matter. For a lot of people, they feel it's too late to get into a character sometimes. It doesn't matter if it's like 2 months since the game launch. It doesn't matter if it's been a year since the game launch. Not a lot of people will play those characters because, well, they're not the new guy in town. It's why you'll see a lot of, for instance, more Terry hype than Shoto hype, because Terry's the new guy. Everyone wants to talk about Terry. No one really wants to talk about the Shotos. I mean, obviously Shoto mains will, but I just mean people who don't main these characters, right? So for characters like Dark Pit and Pit, they suffer from that because I feel personally Pit and Dark Pit are high tiers. They have amazing combos, great disjoints. The only disjoint that's kind of awkward is their fair, but their projectile is amazing. Dark Pit basically has a better wolf laser. The only difference is it's not transcendent, which means it doesn't go through other projectiles, but it's spammable and you can even angle it and it kills. And Pits can literally gimp you off stage, and he himself doesn't even have to go off stage, even though both of their edge guarding is amazing. They have Guardian Obitars, which is a better it's a better shield in my opinion. It doesn't cover you from below. Sometimes it doesn't from above. You know, above and below it's kind of awkward, but it is a better shield. You act out of it faster, which means a lot of moves in this game become even more unsafe on Guardian Obitars, and even if it breaks, well, it will come back in a few seconds and you don't really get punished for it breaking. So Guardian Obitars is very powerful. Do I think these characters will be played more often after the funny thing goes away? I don't think so, because again, it's just launch syndrome. As a matter of fact, let's just go through that right now. Launch syndrome. All right, Corrin suffers from that. Let's see who else here. What else would I say? Mewtwo, kind of arguable. I'll get to him later. Let's see here. Who else? Villager, I'd argue yes. K. Rool, sorta, and I'll get to that later. Like I said, Ken, definitely. This number would 100% be higher if not for, you know, the show's not being so great in the beginning. Let's see. Who else would I say suffers from launch syndrome? Falco, most likely. Meta Knight, definitely, but for different reasons with K. Rool. I'll get to that, like I said, later. Who else? Falcon. I mean, Falcon kind of escapes it because, like, it doesn't matter. Falcon for a lot of people is that hype factor, so a lot of people will just play Falcon because they love Falcon. You know what I mean? But then again, you know, because people like Fatality and stuff has always been pushing the character, you know, you always see people play Falcon. You know what I mean? I mean, I would argue he's probably the most popular Smash character, right, for like people to play. So in a sense that it doesn't matter if he's bad or if he's good, people always play him, right? But who else would I say suffer from this? Ike, definitely, especially when people learn the game, and I'll get to that, like I said, later. And yeah, I think that's really it. I would say Cloud kind of escaped it because Cloud was good in the beginning, but like he definitely wasn't as good as he is now for various reasons. But like I said, we'll get to it when we get to it. So let's move on to Hero. Obviously, Hero was our third DLC character after Joker and Plant. Would I say Hero is played often? No, because there's always issues about him being banned or whatever. You know how it is. So me personally, I don't think Hero should get banned. I think Hero's fine as is. You know, I just think it's ridiculous to want to get rid of him, in my opinion. Next up we have Doc, and there's a simple reason for this one. It doesn't matter how much he gets buffed, unless he's on even playing field as regular Mario, he will never be played as often, right? Mario is just better Dr. Mario. The only thing Dr. Mario has over Mario, in my opinion, is a better up B out of shield, a better projectile. I feel pills are way better. I would say Dr. Mario is a bit better at edge guarding. Depends. Mario can go way farther than Dr. Mario can, but Dr. Mario basically makes it so you can't get back to ledge with his down B, and then once you know, if you could, you can. Plus, he has a better kill throw, being back throw. So he definitely has some benefits. But overall, Mario's throws, combo ability, and just everything about that character is just so much more superior than Dr. Mario. You're never going to see that character that often. Now, Ice Climbers, I would also say, suffers from launch syndrome a little bit because Nana in the beginning of the game kind of sucked. And Nana still kind of sucks even now, but not as much. I would say that I would expect more Ice Climbers in the future. The only thing that's really holding back Ice Climbers is that they're a grappler, right? They rely heavily on grab, so a lot of characters in this game, they play airborne. If they get grabbed by Ice Climbers, well, you're gonna suffer a lot of damage and potentially even lose a stock. It's kind of crazy how that is. So, in a sense, it's all about, you know, for Popo and Nana, does the character that you're fighting against have a good, easy way of dealing with Nana? As an example, Meta Knight can just up throw Nana and Nana dies. You know, or up throw Popo and Nana will jump into the up throw and die for it. You know, as an example. And is that character just doesn't allow them to get a grab? If not, then, you know, they're kind of done for. There's nothing the Ice Climbers can do. Nana is definitely better than what she was in the early days of the game. Would I say expect more Nana and Popo? Probably. You could probably see like maybe one or two more players might think about picking up the character. Who knows? As for Jigglypuff, I would still say she's kind of a okay character. She definitely also suffered from launch syndrome, as she is kind of like in this weird boat where she kind of still sucks, but she at least has rest combos, and she's definitely still an obnoxious character. Plus, I mean, even though she heavily relies on edge guarding, at least her edge guarding is good. Next we have Kirby. Kirby, again, just a popular character all around. It doesn't really matter what appearance he's in, he'll always be popular. When it comes to it though, Kirby's always sucked. And what I mean by that is that outside of Smash 64, he's arguably the worst character in Melee. In Brawl, he was definitely not high up there. In Smash 4, he was an alright mid-tier. And in this game, he just suffers from terrible air movement. You know, he's very slow in the air, which is a problem. Overall, I don't think we'll ever see more Kirby until that character gets buffed, and even then, I feel it'll only be like people who are already playing Kirby will just do a lot better with Kirby, is basically what I'm saying. Which generally applies to a lot of these other characters, is that if they get buffed, you'll see not only more of them, but you'll only see people who play those characters more, right? So like, as an example, let's say Pikachu, as a hypothetical, let's say Pikachu was a low tier that Esam played, and then if Esam was doing alright in tournaments, and then Pikachu became best character in the game through buffs, and Esam was doing even better, obviously you'll see a lot more Pikachu, but that doesn't necessarily mean he's become more popular in terms of character usage. You know, it just means that that one specific player is now doing even better because, hey, this character got buffed in various ways. Now with Mac, same thing. He kind of suffers from this whole problem where he can get platform camped. It's not that hard for Mac to deal with. He gets edge guarded easily. Again, there are things Mac can do to work around it. However, you know, it's all about your opponent knowing how to really break down Mac's disadvantage, because especially with Mac, when you're playing a tournament, you're always really going to be a bit nervous, and when things end up not going your way, well then you know, you might panic, you might press a few buttons that you didn't want to press, and you'll end up dying for it because, you know, you're so worried about being off stage or being in disadvantage with Mac that it's really going to cause some form of anxiety, I'd say, which is why I don't think Mac is very popular in that respect. Even if he got buffed, I don't think it would make him that much more popular. I feel like because of how he's designed, he'll always have this relative issue, but I could see him being buffed to like mid-tier, potentially, but that's just me, right? Next we have Mii Sword Fighter. Now Mii Sword Fighter is popular for a different reason, because, you know, even though he is a Mii, you know, there is one thing about Mii Sword Fighter that we should stress. Mii Sword Fighter was basically one of those launch characters. You know, he had such a good linear design that worked so well at the beginning of this game's whole lifespan that people played Mii Sword Fighter because it just worked and it would win you games. I remember Parappa being one of the people that would use Mii Sword Fighter. It was quite an interesting time. Obviously, the character hard dropped off because he's way too linear and suffers from a lot of issues that I'll get to in a future analysis, but Mii Sword Fighter is kind of like in this weird space where, yeah, he's popular, but he was only popular because, you know, a lot of people used him because they thought of him as this really insane broken character, when in reality he never was. It was just like, you know, at the beginning of the game, he was just that good, right? And next up we have Banjo-Kazooie, and this number is easily explainable. Banjo, for a lot of people, they wanted Banjo in Smash, but because of how they're designed with very strong projectiles and all this sort of stuff, people just didn't like their playstyle. They didn't like their heavy camping and zoning aspect, you know, being able to go back and forth, but it was mainly zoning that Banjo's really good at, and setting up those projectiles so when all the cards align, he gets massive damage off of hitting one grenade or one regular egg. So when it comes to it, Banjo-Kazooie kind of suffers from that gameplay hype death, where like initial reveal hype, obviously he was one of the most hyped up characters for Ultimate, but when it came to him being in the game, not a lot of people enjoyed his playstyle, you know, so it was just one of those things, you know, unfortunate. Now with Mewtwo, as I said, he kind of suffers from launch syndrome, and that is, I would still say he's like a mid-tier character, but that's only because of his tail. Outside of that, his moveset is just downright amazing. I would highly urge playing Mewtwo. Just give it a little try. You'll see, you know, Shower Ball is amazing. His tilts are great. He has a lot of combos. He has a lot of sauce. It's just his tail is what holds him back, and for a lot of people, they don't really want to risk that. You know, even though they nerfed the tail hurt box, so it's smaller, and I mean nerfed like, you know, they just made it smaller technically, so you could call it a buff, but they, you know, they slightly made it smaller, but they didn't outright remove it, which means there's still jank with that tail at times where Mewtwo will get clipped even though he shouldn't be. So Mewtwo definitely suffers from a lot of those issues. I feel that if Mewtwo's tail was removed, you would see a high spike in this character's popularity. Now Prom Plant, DLC initial hype, I mean, it's Plant Gang, we all know about this when he first came out. Obviously heavily died down because not a lot of people were being serious, they just thought it was funny to play the Piranha Plant. So we won't really talk about him so often. Now with Sheik is one of those character specialists, which is why you won't see often Sheik, and for a lot of this game's time, you know, up until from launch till now, Sheik was just seen as a bad character or too hard to play, and while I would agree with the latter half of that statement, being that, you know, she's just one of those characters where you have to put your personal time into her to make her work. I feel if you make her work, she really works out for you. I mean, again, an offline only character, I'd say, because online, this character can kind of suck, but Sheik is definitely worth playing in this sort of offline environment, because her frame data is much superior than most characters on the roster. She gets in like no other, and she does have kill confirms, so, you know, there's a lot that goes into Sheik, so she's definitely a character specialist type character. As for Isabelle, Isabelle's just one of those, a very popular game character, not much else to it, because let's face it, Isabelle is not an amazing character. That's just the reality of it. The same really applies to Villager. You know, Animal Crossing, very popular series. You won't really see these two characters in tournament more often because, well, with Villager, he kind of sucked at the beginning, but they made him a lot better. He's definitely a character I'd say worth picking up and trying out. But with Isabelle, not really. He didn't really do that for Isabelle. And when it comes to Lucario, Lucario's kind of like, I already made an analysis on him, so you can watch that if you want. Next up, we have Simon. Again, same issue, where there's just something about this character where like you have to dedicate your time to this character, because I believe the best example is with Riddles. Riddles, he's a Terry main currently. He basically dropped the character because there's just so much anxiety and risk playing this character. Because sure, you can keep away your opponent, you can set up all these traps all you want, but once your opponent gets in, it's sort of hard for Simon to keep him out. It's sort of hard for Belmonts to keep him out. And once they're off stage, they're basically dead. It doesn't matter what move you use off stage, you throw it off stage. The Belmonts are basically gone because their up B goes nowhere. And, well, they have a tether recovery. And tethers don't grant you invincibility until you're on the ledge. So, yeah, it's a very shaky road. And it also doesn't help that Belmonts have some wacky hitboxes also. Next up, we have Bowser Jr. And again, I feel Bowser Jr. is definitely a lot better than how he was at the launch of the game. But I do feel he's being slept on a little bit. But I'll make a separate video on that. But for now, I just gotta say, it's one of those things where it's like, if you take into account a character's weakness, the same with Marth, for example. Marth and Bowser Jr., when you look at their weaknesses, it's just one of those things where it's like, you have to ask yourself, is it really worth playing these characters when I could just play characters that can kind of do what they do, but better? Or in the case of Marth, you have Lucina, who's just better for tournament play, because Lucina's just so much harder to play, or rather, Martha's harder to play than Lucina in tournament, because you have to worry about perfect spacing, and you can't always do that in a tournament setting. You know, when you're playing to win, it can get kind of stressful, and that's why Martha's just not a very popular character. It's just one of those people where you play him for nostalgic reasons. Now, I don't know why they have the Samuses as separate. As a matter of fact, I don't even know why they have the Belmonts as separate. It's really weird. You know, Daisy's here, but we'll just discount it, right? Because they're practically the same. So, Samuses, it's just one of those things where it's like, people just gotta play these characters more, and I feel they'd be played more, but no one really wants to play Samuses, because, well, who knows? Now, with K. Rool and Meta Knight, Meta Knight was broken pre-game's release, because people had the game early, and people were posting Twitter combos, but Meta Knight was a legitimately great character before launch, at least from what I've seen and what I've been told. There's just a lot of good things about Meta Knight. But then he got nerfed in the day one patch, I believe, and K. Rool got nerfed over time, but then he got buffed over time alongside Meta Knight. I feel that, me personally, Meta Knight and K. Rool are hard slept-on characters. I would say K. Rool is the second best heavy in the game, second only to Charizard, because K. Rool has something that he used to not be able to have, and that is a landing option with side B. Nair is extremely powerful. He has pretty good projectiles. He has grab combos, kill confirms, the works. So I think K. Rool's definitely slept on. And for Meta Knight, I don't even know why I said Kirby, but with Meta Knight, it's just one of those things where Meta Knight's just a hard character to play, but if you put the time into him, similar to Sheik, you will get great results. Now with Lucas, I can't really explain that one, because Lucas, from what I see, he seems like a very linear character, but he's not. There's a lot of depth to Lucas, but all you'll ever see is PK Fire and PK Freeze. So I can't really describe Lucas's issues. It's just one of those things where it's like, people only see him as linear, but if people tried pushing the boundaries a bit more, you'd see there's a lot more depth to Lucas. But, you know, again, not a very popular pick for a lot of players. Same with Robin. I think Robin's great, but not a very popular pick amongst players. Same with Wii Fit. Not many people want to play Wii Fit because, I mean, it's Wii Fit, you know? Bayonetta. Bayonetta's kind of low on the end because, one, there's not that many Bayonetta players as there was in Smash 4, and a lot of people hated Bayonetta in Smash 4, and a lot of that hate still kind of stems from that game till now, even though I feel it shouldn't really apply since they're both completely different games. Well, whatever it is, what it is. Diddy Kong suffered from launch syndrome, sucked in the beginning, great now, try him. Toon Link, worse version of Young Link, is why he's less popular than Young Link, but I do think he's still a decent character nonetheless. Duck Hunt, character specialist, Incineroar, too slow of a heavy. He gets platform camped to hell and back, so no, you're not going to see a lot of that character. Luigi, very linear character, grab, 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 and hope I get the grab, and that's it. So that's something with that. Plus, you know, a lot of people just don't like Luigi. You know, we always say there's no honor when it comes to playing a fighting game, but for some people, they see Luigi as like this horrible character because he makes you kind of regret life in a sense. He's a very poorly designed character, and I want to get into that in a future analysis. But for now, I think Luigi is it makes sense where Luigi is at now. Ridley, again, popular character because he's Ridley, but unpopular because of how he is in Smash. He's not a super heavyweight, he's a heavyweight, but he's lighter than Samus, which means he dies earlier than Samus, and he's a big guy, which means he's going to get hit a lot. He's going to be combo food for a lot of characters, not to mention the fact that some of his moves aren't really that great. They need some fine-tuning. His command grab is a perfect example. High startup and high end lag, you know, whereas other command grabs don't have that same issue. So yeah, Ridley, he kind of has some problems. And then we have Zelda. She's just a badly designed trap character. A better one would be Pac-Man, but even then, Pac-Man is a character specialist. DDD, only really good online. There's not much to him offline. Falco, linear character, but with the Min patch, I would say is that even though he's still a linear character, there's a lot more to him, so I definitely try him out if you're interested in ever playing Falco. Next we have Ganon. Ganon, again, popular because Smash, you know, he's a meme in the community. So obviously, when it comes to Ganondorf, you're gonna see a lot of him because it's Ganon, you know what I mean? Down here, hype! Anyway, so continuing on. Sonic, just a character that a lot of people see as lame, so, you know, some people, they want to be respected in tournament, and, you know, people won't really respect you if you play Sonic because of how he's designed. He's a very campy character. Game & Watch. The Game & Watch is just, again, same thing with Sonic. He's an annoying character. If you play him, you basically won't have any friends unless, like, you're really good, and that's Meister. And Meister kind of just up B's, down airs, and yeah, I don't get it. Falcon, as I said earlier, just very popular. Mega Man, character specialist, but he does really well. DK, popular because it's DK. Plus, there is a reason to play him, even though he kind of sucks. You know, he does have like that fear factor and that burst factor, where DK can just like, he hits you, and then if you jump, you die because that's DK. But he has like really good back air, really good, you know, some good aerials. You know, he has negative on hit tilts, but that's besides the point. Grab confirms. He does have a grab kill confirm. It's, you know, it's the ding dong, but it's much stricter than it was in Smash 4. So the ding dong is still there. It's just much harder to get in this game compared to Smash 4. Young Link and Link, they're both popular because they're really good, but kind of one of those you need to play at your best, which is not why a lot of people play them. Same with Shulk. Ike is here because same thing with Mii Sword Fighter, very popular character, but he was even more so popular than Mii Sword Fighter because, well, he's not a Mii, he's Ike, and a lot of people love Ike. We like Ike. Pikachu, he's only lower here because only one person really does well with him, so that's just how it is. Rosalina, similar thing, one person does really well with him, with her, and that's DeBuzz. You know, I mean, there are other Rosalina players, but like DeBuzz is like one of the more notable ones. Then you have Roy, you have players like Goblin, for instance. Roy's a really good character, so of course he's going to be popular. Though I find it interesting that Crom's up there, higher than Roy, like more used than Roy, but again, this isn't too accurate. Though maybe there are more Crom players than there are Roy players, which kind of makes sense in some semblance because it's a sort of the same logic with Marth, where you wouldn't want to play Marth with Lucina because Lucina is just overall a safer pick. Some could apply that Crom where you'd feel like, oh well, if I'm not in your zone, then I'm not gonna deal any meaningful damage anyways. So if I play Crom, well then I still get that meaningful damage. But that's I guess how you see it. Yoshi, I have no idea how he's up here personally. I would guess early on in the game's lifespan he was just very popular because a lot of people did play Yoshi at the beginning of the game, but as of recent times, I don't see anyone play Yoshi at all. Bowser's all because of Leon. Without Leon, that character would have no notoriety. The character's like all right mid-tier, but let's face it, Bowser should not be where he is. He is only where he is because of Leon, right? That's just the gist of it. Wario because of Gluttony. Greninja, he's one of those hidden bosses that you'll see a lot of, but also won't see in like very top placings. I often don't see Greninja make it to top 8, but it's very possible for him to make it to top 8. He's a very good character that I feel is hard slept on. Olimar, again, beginning of the game had people like the Buzz, man, I'm already forgetting names. Shuton, I believe, and there was one other Smash player. But the main point being is that Olimar was hard nerfed, which is what caused his player base to sort of die. And even though they buffed his shield back to how it should be, because of his prior nerfs and a lot of the hype for Olimar just sort of died. You're not going to see as many Olimars as you would back then. If Olimar was the same character as he was at the start of the game versus now, I promise you, you'd see a lot more of him, but because of his nerfs, you won't see him that often. Same applies to Pichu, very popular character in the beginning, but a lot of people stopped playing him because, well, now he's just worse Pikachu. They nerfed him so bad because originally people saw Pichu as a better character, but not anymore. Pikachu's a better character. It's kind of unfortunate for how things turned out for Pichu, but it is what it is. Mario, again, he's only starting to rise in popularity, so I expect that when offline tournaments return, I expect to see him more. Peach, again, character specialist. It's not that hard to master Peach, it's just hard to learn Peach, because you gotta learn your flow cancels and all that sort of stuff, but once you've mastered her things, trying to learn the character is really easy. Right? So then, we have Rob, again, you'll see him a lot from specific players, but he's not a character he'll be picked by a lot of people. It's just that the people who do play him do extremely well with him. Lucina, people want to play Marth, play Lucina, and since there are a lot of people who like Marth, they'll play Lucina. Lucina gets a lot of results because of that. Not just results, but a lot of showings in tournaments. Because this isn't based on winning, this is just based on how many times people have played these characters. And Lucina gets played a lot. A lot. Ness, same thing. Ness, kind of wacky. He's a very good character, just held back by his recovery, but he has amazing disjoints and frame data, and throws. There's a lot of great things about Ness. It's just one of those things. Oh, and I guess I should mention that early on in the game's lifespan, you know, Yo-Yo, up smash and down smash at ledge were very powerful, and so that's why a lot of people use these characters, because they could abuse that sort of stuff, and we didn't really know how to deal with that sort of stuff until much later on. But, you know, it is what it is. Joker, MK Leo, of course, you'll see him more often being played by anyone else in this game. Joker is very popular because, one, it's Joker from Persona 5, but of course, because Joker has that notoriety of MK Leo being, you know, the best, not only the best Joker, but the best in the world, a lot of people are going to be playing Joker just to try to be the next MK Leo. Will they succeed? No, but, you know, they can try their best. Next up with Cloud. Cloud, very popular character. Final Fantasy VII is a very popular game. Obviously, Cloud making the jump from Smash 4 to Ultimate. Obviously, he was a worse character in Ultimate than he was in Smash 4, but he was still pretty good even at launch. So a lot of people stayed with him, but a lot of people also dropped him because he's just not the same character. He can't hold on to limit like he used to. But Cloud definitely has a lot of strengths to him, and it makes sense why he's so popular. And again, because of Spargo, a young Smash player, very talented, he plays Cloud. He and a lot of people highlighted Spargo because of, you know, how amazing his Cloud was. You know, a lot of people were like, I want to be the next Spargo, minus being a kid. You know why. Anyways, so then we have Fox, Light, again, top player, does really well with character. A lot of people are going to play that character, and that sort of applies with the rest of these characters here. You know, character, top player plays character, does really well with character. People want to play this character. So that's it. That's pretty much it. Now let's go over to who I think, you know, after the pandemic's over, who do I think we'll see more of? My expectations to see more of are definitely the fighting game characters, Ryu, Ken, Terry, and Min Min. Min Min also counts as this. Now, technically, there are offline tournaments with Min Min, and Min Min does extremely well in those. But, and Japan hates Min Min, which is kind of funny to me. But they hate Min Min. So I do expect Min Min to show up. Again, these aren't accurate results because I would say that there are still offline tournaments in Japan that could solidify some of these numbers. I feel maybe, I don't know how old this is. It's obviously not that old to have Steve, but you know, it is what it is. But I do expect to see Min Min and Steve more often. Expect them to rise up. MK Leo, mains Byleth. Expect to see more Byleth. I feel Byleth will rise up. Let's see, the Pits, it depends. Pits are one of those characters where I don't think they'll actually, you'll see more of. It's unfortunate, but I think that's just how it is. Mii Brawler, I do expect more people to play Mii Brawler. Over time, this character has been getting more and more hype, especially during this pandemic, so I feel, personally, Mii Brawler is definitely going to be seen a little bit more. Hero, it all really depends on the bans. Because, you know, people don't want to put time into a character that's going to get banned. Even though I feel Hero shouldn't get banned. Hero's a very good character in my opinion. Not the definition on good, but I think he's well enough. Maybe if those bans wasn't such a threat, you'd probably see more Hero players. But that's just me. Mewtwo, again, if they remove that tail, instantly shot up, I feel personally. Because a lot of people do play Mewtwo, they just won't play him in tournament because of that tail hitbox. Lucario's bad, GG. Sheik, you'll probably see more Void playing this character, but otherwise you won't really see a lot of people picking up Sheik. Let's see here, who else? K. Rool, again, Ben Gold is really the only K. Rool out there that does really well with the character. I don't see people playing K. Rool more. You know what I mean? But it is what it is. Meta Knight, again, players will probably do better, but don't expect more people to pick him up. Falcon, you can't say that for. I feel people will pick up Falcon more and more. And, yeah, expect some of these other characters, like, some of them, like Roy, Chrom, and Greninja, Pikachu to especially rise up on this. But overall, you know, this is character usage in tournaments. Would I say this is accurate? Or like, would I say this really applies even now? Some of it yes, some of it no. You know, again, it's all based on how much people use a character. And, well, this is basically the list. You can check out the website yourself in SSB World. Would I say it's the best source of info for determining how good a character is? Definitely not. Because again, character usage does not determine good or bad. I would argue that Ryu, in my opinion, is a top 20 character. I would argue that, right? I would argue Terry's a really good character. I'd argue that who's another great example? Let's see here. Who do I think is a hidden sleep? I think Meta Knight, top 20 character. I could argue that, you know, but obviously it's just one of those things where it's like, if your character is bad at launch, they're not going to be played often in the future. So yeah, that's something to know. With that all being said, I hope you guys take care of yourselves. Expect more of this funny blockhead to show up more. You know, and yeah, I think that's really it. Like I said, go to SSB World if you want to see the stats for yourself, and take care. I'll see you guys in the next video. Hit the funny red button, and bye. Peace. You know how it is.